Okay, I'm here. This is Scout. We have another dog that I'm going to be handling named Atticus. And this is Wrigley over here in case you see the third dog in a kennel. This is a video where I'm going to go over, I'm going to share some tips and tricks to help if you have a dog that has a resource guarding problem, which Scout does. Scout's going to have a bully stick in a minute. Now, resource guarding, although it looks extraordinarily aggressive and the dog acts aggressive, is not classified as an aggressive behavior because once you remove the resource, generally the behavior stops. I know you're going to get this in a minute. Basically, one of the worst things you can do if you have a dog that resource guards, and this is what I'm going to beat up on my ilk a little bit, a lot of men like to do. Oh, you're being a jerk because you have that thing? I'm going to take that thing away from you. Well, the whole reason they have a resource guarding is it's very natural in the wild for them to guard their resources, primarily food. And so if I'm on a desert island or an island in the Pacific and I have a chicken, and Taylor is the next camp, and she keeps over and she comes coveting my chicken, I'm going to want her to go away because I need that chicken. So that's the same thing for the dog food. So basically, any type of force or punishment or taking the thing away will actually make it worse. What you want to do instead is create a scenario where the dog actually identifies someone approaching me as a positive rather than a negative. Now, a dog can guard a person, place, or thing. Some dogs will guard kennels. A lot of times it's a high value item like a chew item or food. She is big a food motivated guarder. But it can also be a person. Taylor, who's filming me, she was guarding Taylor at one point. And so some of the indications you're going to see is the dog is going to, typically they either start moving slow, stare, or lower their head, or they get frozen. So those are, and every dog is unique, just like us, we have different peccadillos. So identifying what your dog's warning signs are helps you get the other dog away from there. Now, a lot of times dogs do this with other people. In this case, the dog only guards against the other dogs. So really primarily against Atticus here, which you'll see in a minute. So basically what I'm going to do in here in a second is I'm going to give Scout this bully stick. Her guardian is going to keep her on a leash so she's in this area. This technique, by the way, is from Jean Donaldson, and it's outlined in her book called Mine, M-I-N-E with an exclamation point. It's very easy. I'm going to go through the technique with you here. If you have a dog that has a resource guarding problem, I would recommend that book. All right, so I know somebody's getting very anxious. So you want to make sure you have high value training treats that the dog is going to really like. So, and a lot of times you wouldn't use an edible item, but I want to make sure I don't want to trigger a response. I wanted to make sure we had something that she's going to guard. So you want to pick and choose your battles. Now, right now, because of the architecture of the house, we have a big room here and we have a long hallway. Ideally, what you'd like to have the dog do, what I'm going to be doing is imagine that this is Scout and her guardian. I want to approach in this angle, then approach in this angle, this angle, this angle. You want to approach from all different angles. We're not going to be able to do this to be able to shoot it with have good video footage, but I just wanted to point it out. It is appropriate to be doing this from different angles. Also, dogs do not generalize well, so you don't want to practice just in this corridor. You want to practice here, in the basement, upstairs, the bedroom, all sorts of places. But the idea is you're going to approach. Now, what we're going to do is the first indicator is not the dog exploding. The first indicator is usually hunch over or freeze or staring. So what you're going to see is the camera is actually going to be back here. It's going to be following me from behind. I'm going to walk towards her while she has an object that she's probably going to be guarding, and I'll pretend even if she's not, and with the dog on a leash, because I want to make sure that I can control the situation. I'm going to keep approaching her until she gives me that freeze. You don't want to push past that. If she reacts and you push way too far, she's hysterical, so you're not going to learn anything. The whole point of this is no reaction. Now the warning, the freeze, is where I'm going to stop and take note of how close I am to her. So let's say I'm approaching and I get to 10 feet, and that's when she freezes. I'm going to stop, I'm going to turn and walk away, go to about 15 feet, let her relax. Then we're going to approach again. I'm going to stop at 11 feet, if that's the distance. I don't know what the distance is. I haven't done this yet. But the idea is you want to stop before the dog feels the need to even freeze or stare or hunch over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a treat towards her, and then we're going to walk away. So what we're saying is when you have a high value item, not only are we not a thief, we're not going to take this from you, we're actually going to make your situation better by giving something even better than what you have, and you get your original stuff, and we walk away. Now, one last little sidebar. If you have a dog that has a resource guarding issue, teaching them to drop is really, really important. It's super easy to do. If this is the dog, it has an object, not a high value object like this, just a bone or a ball or something they're allowed to have. Come over when the dog, and without the other dogs around, touch the dog's nose with a treat, a really high value treat, and just wait. The dog's going to try to take it with the object in their mouth and figure out they can't do that. As soon as they do that, drop it, put the treat in their mouth, say the word drop, and then don't show any interest in the object. You want to do this with their toys and things they're allowed to have at any point that you don't normally show interest in. We shape the behavior on a lower, easier value criteria. And eventually you can get the dog to drop your underwear, remote control, or shoe, or whatever it is the dog has. All right, so we're going to go ahead and transition. I'm going to have Taylor follow me. You just follow me instead of walking backwards. And you're going to go ahead and go on back there. I'm going to give Scout the bone. There we go. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take the leash, and Taylor's going to be walking behind me. And so when you're doing this, make sure you're safe. So if you're using a leash, put it through your hand so that if you do slip or fall, you can actually stop the dog from coming there. Now I'm going to keep this leash fairly short, but I don't want to have tension on the leash when we're doing this. This dog is the handler, the helper dog, so this dog shouldn't have a problem with it. But if this dog's on a really tense leash and is not comfortable, that can trigger a response. Also, exercising your dogs if they're high energy before you do this exercise would probably be a good idea. Just give them at least 10 minutes to recover. All right, Atticus, you ready, buddy? And you can probably stop right when we get out of here.
Okay.
So we're approaching, can you see her?
Yep.
So she looks. Atticus. Now she didn't give us the signs that we're looking for, so I'm just going to recreate this. This is a good thing. It's always a bummer you take your car to the mechanic and it won't fail. So I'm going to say, imagine that when I get on this mat here is when she freezes. So what I'm going to do is, again, keep a short leash. Atticus, we're approaching. She sees, and then we turn and walk away. She gets a treat, and then she goes back to her deal. Approach. Well, that was not a good throw. Make sure you do a good enough throw where the dog doesn't have to really give up the object to get it. Now, she's more interested in the bully stick. Usually a dog's guarding, it's not something like this. I mean, they can guard stuff like this, but usually it's a bowl of food or the kennel or whatever it is. So again, you're gonna approach. Let's say that this is 10 feet and I roll the treat and we walk away. And then you approach a little bit different angle, a little bit different angle, and you're staying at 11 feet in the circumference from her. And once you've done this enough times, and she's not even really looking at the dog, she looks, but she's not stiff, she's not paying attention, then I take one step closer. Yeah, she's really into that bully stick. Normally, you want a high enough value treat where the dog's going to take it. A lot of times the dog's actually not chewing it. A bully stick probably isn't the best idea for this, but it's what we have in hand. So basically, you're gradually going to get closer and closer. The key, however, is not to push too far too fast. This is an exercise that will probably take you 2, 4, 8, 12 practice sessions. I don't know, every dog is different. But if you get frustrated, this helper dog gets frustrated, or that dog gets frustrated, stop. Don't push it past where anybody's getting frustrated. That will amplify the problem. But if you do this right, you'll get gradually closer and closer and closer, and the dog actually thinks, instead of this dog being somebody that's going to take my resource, I like it when this dog approaches because that means that I get better resources, and never once does this dog actually take my object. I'm going to do it one more time, but I mean, you guys have pretty much seen it. And let's see if we can get a little bit closer. Now, Atticus also in that one, if you notice, stopped himself. So Atticus has learned to read her body language. And we just walk away. So you want to pick and choose your battles. Make sure you exercise your dog first. Make a list of all the items that your dog guards. And systematically, just pick one, like 2 or 3 at a time if there's a long list. Otherwise, if there's only like 4 or 5, just pick one thing and just keep on it until you exhaust the dog's guarding of that particular object. And I would switch handlers and put as many variables in as you can, but eventually it gets to the point where you just walk towards her, walk around her, and walk away, and she doesn't growl or get stiff or any of those things. One last thing, if your dog ever bares its teeth, growls, these are warnings. These are not anything you should ever punish or correct a dog from doing. What you should do is increase the distance. I see a lot of people, the dog bares its teeth, and we jerk the leash, or we say bad dog. And a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll teach their dog not to give off any warnings and go straight to a bite. I've seen it happen. So if your dog growls, recognize that your dog is communicating, I'm uncomfortable, we need to practice this technique or another technique if it's a different situation, and help the dog feel comfortable in that so they don't feel like they're threatened or they need to disagree. All right, Atticus, sit. Well, it'd be better if you're facing the camera. Sit. This is Atticus, sit. That's Scout. Wow, that was fast going through a bully stick. And we have Wrigley over here pining for the cubs over in his kennel. These are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that has a resource guarding problem.